Broadcasting from Detroit's Gas Corridor, it's the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent.
And I'm Tia Graham. Today on the show, she blends jazz, folk, R&B, and rips on guitar.
Corazon Cell joins us ahead of her Sounds Like Detroit debut.
Plus, the city's first competitive mayoral race in years happens tomorrow, but low turnout and accessibility gaps persist.
We'll speak with Detroit City Clerk Janice Winfrey about turnout, voter apathy, and more.
And 2025 marks 60 years of the Voting Rights Act. What's changed? What stayed the same? And what's at stake?
But first, Detroit's primary election, as we've mentioned, is tomorrow. 9 candidates are on the ballot, plus 2 write-ins, to become Detroit's next mayor. Several other candidates are vying for spots on Detroit City Council. Over the past several months, WDET has been interviewing mayoral candidates to give you, the voter, a chance to learn more about them. And you've heard many of those interviews right here on the Metro. But the candidates are only part of determining who will be the next mayor. The most important part of the equation is you, the voter. Last month, the WDET news team hit the streets for a new project to help us get a clear picture of what Detroiters want out of the next mayor. The project is called Citizen Vox. We frequently use that term, vox pop, in public radio. It stems from the Latin phrase vox populi, meaning voice of the people. Here to tell us more about the voice of the people this election season is WDET News Director Jerome Vaughn. He's a veteran journalist who's been following Detroit politics and voter turnout for decades. And I got to say, few people understand the rhythms of a Detroit election year like he does. Welcome back to the Metro, Jerome.
Good to be with you, Robin.
So what exactly is the Citizen Vox project?
Well, the idea is to talk to the public, the folks who are going to determine who wins this election, primary election tomorrow, general election in November, and to get their input on what they'd like to see and what they expect to happen. We wanted to make sure that we talk with people all over town. So downtown, midtown, Jefferson, Chalmers, out in different neighborhoods. And again, the idea is really just to get to give our listeners a chance to hear what folks are saying all over town about the election.
I've really loved being able to compare and contrast what folks are saying versus what the candidates have said to us. And so I'm wondering how you came up with this idea.
As I do, I've been thinking about the election all year. We've been, covering candidates, and sometimes different newsmakers are talking about what they think about the election. And it dawned on me that we are not really hearing a lot from the electorate. And when you do hear from the electorate, typically in media in town, you might hear a 10-second soundbite of somebody talking about this. And I thought, well, let's interview people in the same way we interview the candidates and we interview newsmakers. Let's interview some everyday people as they're going about their jobs and ask them what they care about and what they're thinking about the election. And so we started this last month, and we're excited about it.
So that's what is setting Citizen Vox apart from the typical person on the street interviews, is the fact that we really get to hear people think about these issues on a deeper level. Is that right? We get more time with them.
That's exactly right. When we do an interview with a mayoral candidate, we're going to, talk to them for several minutes at a time. We're going to edit that down to fit the holes that we have on air. And we did the same thing with this. We would find people, for example, Quinn Kleinfelter talked to someone on the People Mover, and they had, a conversation that ran, 6 or 7 minutes. He edited it down to about 3 minutes for air. But that's more than you're going to hear from just your average Detroiter, there's such a thing. I know there's not such a thing, but, everybody has a chance to talk and be heard and have their viewpoints understood. And that's important.
Yeah, it is. And it really does depend on the issue, Jerome. I mean, I think about interviewing folks on the street, and some things will really animate a person and other things maybe not so much, or someone might be a little bit reluctant to share how they feel. So how would you describe people's enthusiasm to speak with WDET reporters specifically for this project?
There was a lot of enthusiasm for the people who were enthusiastic. I guess that's the best way to put it. You know, for any time you go to talk to people on the street about something, you know, 1 out of every 5 or 6 people will take the time to talk with you. This project's about that same. But of the people who agreed to talk, they were very passionate about talking about the issues that were important to them. And I think part of that is because they don't get asked that by media organizations very often. So they were very willing to talk and getting engaged with our reporters who are out on the street.
So it's also about building trust then with people, with our listeners or potential listeners, with the journalists themselves, and getting folks to see that we do work for the public. I'm wondering if your team noticed like a sense of, let's say, distrust from reporters or the news media, and then also from the government when they were speaking with them.
Not particularly. We didn't ask about those issues. You know, we really focused on the mayoral election, but they didn't get any sort of you reporters or
meddling reporter.
Yeah, there wasn't any of that going on. Usually, again, the reason people say they don't want to talk is, you know, they're in a rush, or sometimes people say, well, I haven't been following the election. And so those are generally the reasons why. But, you know, as far as we know, we didn't discern any change in the level of trust, either for the government or for the news media. And a little later, I'll talk a little bit about what some people think about trust in government.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I do want to now get into what the voters are actually saying about the political races that are going on right now.
Well, there were a lot of folks who, you know, had a lot of different issues that they were thinking about or talking about, or that were important to them. You know, crime, jobs, growth in the city. Those were all things that, you know, people mentioned. But there were a few issues that were really mentioned more than others. One of them was transit. And so this is Andre Crawford speaking to Quinn Kleinfelter about some long-standing issues dealing with how Detroiters are getting around town.
We strive so hard to be a big city, but how can you be a big city when your transportation is very poor? You got 2 rail systems, and none of the rail systems are really going anywhere. You know, just up and down to the boulevard to downtown. And then you got the people mover, all it does is go in a circle. So it's money wasted.
What about the bus systems?
I don't understand why the SMART and the DOT can't be merged. Why would you have 2 systems? It's still wasted money.
Do you wind up taking them a lot yourself?
Yeah, I ride them all the time, the bus systems, both. And I'm telling you, people moving back to the city, you know, they're going to want that. The city is growing, and the best thing to do is get the public transportation system. Once you get the public transportation system going, it's going to explode it. It's going to explode because people can move around.
Now, you heard Andre talk about how more people are moving to Detroit and transit is needed to get them where they want to go. Many of the folks that the team talked to gave credit to current Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan for that, and they had some overwhelmingly positive things to say. This is Monica Davey, who lives downtown.
This will be the first time in about 12 years that Mike Duggan is not running for mayor. What have you thought of the job that he's done, and do you see things that you think the next mayor should either build upon or perhaps go beyond?
I'll be honest, I was not originally a supporter of Duggan, but I think he has a brilliant mind, and I think that he's galvanized and exposed some real challenges that we have in the city, and I think that he's tried to take a swing at them, like some of the blight and tearing down some of the vacant homes and some of the urban farms and some of the subsidies that he's offered. I think he's done a good job, and I would like to see the next mayor sort of follow that blueprint with their own spin on it. I think he's done a good job. I'm appreciative of his leadership.
And Monica says, when it comes to selecting the next mayor, she has a few things she's considering in making her decision. One of those issues is something that, Detroiters have been talking about for decades. Really this divide between development downtown and development in the neighborhoods.
Whoever would become mayor, what kind of issues do you think in particular in the city that you would like to see whoever becomes the next mayor address?
I'd like to see as much attention and money spent in the neighborhoods as is downtown. What happens when folks are not visiting and the lights go out? Is it still welcoming to the individuals? We have got this tag phrase of the old Detroit and the new Detroit. There's no such thing. It's just one Detroit. And there's a group of individuals that held Detroit down, as we say, when the lights were out. So I'd like to see them respected. Low-income individuals, some of the homeless challenges that we have addressed. I don't know how we have a big, beautiful metropolis and still have individuals traversing through that are homeless, and we're not building big, beautiful shelters for them and giving them a leg up. They don't need a handout, they want a hand up, and we have the mechanisms and the resources to do it right here in the city of Detroit. So I would like to see an individual be really focused on sharing the wealth, spreading the wealth, making sure the individuals in the city of Detroit, no matter who they are, get some of these skilled trades jobs, training. That whole component is important, even though our political landscape is threatening adult education and skilled trades. I would like to see us focus on it in the city of Detroit. I don't want to see us moving our low-income and at-risk individuals out to the suburbs, our homeless out to the suburbs. I'd like to see them integrated and supported in the city while we continue to build.
We heard from several residents who said they'd like to see more attention being paid to homelessness and affordable housing and taking care of seniors. And like Monica, several of the people talked about, how much they appreciate Mayor Duggan. And like Monica, some had to be won over time. But it's clear that over the last 12 years that Duggan has built up a following here in Detroit.
So you were hearing quite a few common threads. I wonder overall, Jerome, how engaged are voters in the electoral process at this point?
Well, of the ones who talked to us, they were very engaged. Some said, we're not paying attention to what's going on. Some said, we're not paying attention to what's going on yet. They said, we want to see more of what's going on. And some of the folks we talked to, they sort of said the candidates aren't what they want to be. Dina Norris understands the importance of the next mayor attracting or creating jobs in Detroit, but when she talked to Sasha Ryan, Dina said she's been hearing a lot of the same old stuff from the current crop of candidates.
I listened to one forum and I was impressed with a few of them. I don't remember if they addressed those issues specifically, but I don't think so. They were talking about creating more jobs, really important. We need that too. Everybody talks about in every election, what they're going to bring, and then nobody brings anything. Everything is, if you don't know how to operate economically, what can you really bring to the city? You have great ideas, I had great ideas once upon a time. Great ideas are great ideas. Can you manifest them? Do you have the skills? Do you know how to work it by the numbers? Those are the important points.
And, many folks are again, not happy with the candidates. They'd like to see some more stuff going on in the city. George Goff is one of them. He lives in Jefferson Chalmers. He sees the next mayor of Detroit facing some big challenges, and he tells Quinn Kleinfelter if those challenges aren't met properly, there could be some serious consequences for the city.
Detroit could be a first-class city, and it's not anymore. So the next mayor has to get on the ground and start making way for the future of the city of Detroit. If we don't, we will go back into bankruptcy.
You think it's that dire a situation that bankruptcy could be a possibility?
I think it's a very possibility because they're skirting around the real issues. People have gone to city council and shared their voice, and it's like, okay, we'll look into that, and no one is looking into it. The flooding, people losing their homes, the taxes, common things they're not doing. Look at the city transportation. And then crime now. There's no activities for youth. They need to open up recreations on the weekends, have midnight basketball or something. We need something for our youth. The parks are great, but we need policing of the parks.
Okay, so that was voter George Goff, who clearly wants more engagement from city officials. Jerome, let's get to some of the bigger takeaways from Citizen Vox. What would you say is one of the biggest takeaways you're seeing from these early interviews?
Well, I think folks are thinking about what they've seen over the last dozen years, and they really want to see that continue as the next mayor takes over. And there's sort of, I think, two key issues involved in that, integrity and effectiveness. Jasmine Kay talked to Sasha Ryan, and Jasmine says she's got a very clear message for the candidates who are seeking to run Detroit.
Do your job for the people. Do your actual job for the people. What are our needs, and get it moving. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. If there's only one major thing you can do, then make sure it gets done well. We have a tattered history with different mayors in this space. So let that be a good reminder to actually do your job. Be involved. Let's see your face more. Don't be afraid of your people.
It's a big job to be mayor of Detroit, but that's not the only big job. It's a big job being a voter, too. I'll give the last word to Andrew Crawford, who we heard from earlier.
The people need to come out and vote, especially in the black community. You gotta come out and vote, even in these local elections, because if we don't, what's going on now is going to continue. You got to show that you care, and you care by voting. If you don't care, this is what happens. The turmoil we're in now.
And that's an issue we've seen repeatedly in primary elections. Detroiters not coming out to vote. Fewer than 20% of eligible voters in the city are expected to have cast their ballots either absentee or early voting or when they go to the polls tomorrow. Now, a reminder, polls are open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. tomorrow. And we'll be talking more Detroiters between, tomorrow and the November election. Detroiters have a lot to say.
WDET News Director Jerome Vaughn, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your leadership in the newsroom and all that you do to keep people informed.
You know how much I love Detroit.
Tomorrow is Detroit's primary election for mayor and city council. The two top vote getters for mayor will advance to the general election in November. To hear all of WDET's election coverage, go to WDET.org/voterguide 2025. Up next, Detroit City Clerk Janice Winfrey will join me in studio. We'll hear about how she's preparing the city's election workers for tomorrow and what kind of turnout she expects from voters. WDET's listener survey is now open, and your feedback helps shape the future of Detroit Public Radio. It's fast, anonymous, and it lets us know what you love, what you want more of, and what we can do better. Complete the survey and you'll be entered for a chance to win a custom WDET prize pack. Visit WDET.org/survey. We'll be right back on the Metro. Stay with us.